Your objective for lesson 7 is I will identify and represent shaded and non-shaded parts of one whole as fractions. So we're going to be working with fractions still, and we're going to be looking at the shaded parts, but we're also going to be looking at the parts that are not shaded and writing those as fractions as well. So when we're looking at this next slide, we've got a cup here, and this whole cup would be the whole. And so we're looking at the fraction of the part that is filled with blue water. So on your board, I want you to write the fraction that shows the blue water. What fraction would represent that part of the cup? Make sure you're writing that on your board. So that fraction would be 1/2. Once again, if you used it with numbers, that's fine. So if we're looking at the part that is not full with blue water, what fraction could that be? So what is the fraction of the cup that's not filled with blue water? Write that on your board as well. Okay, that fraction is also 1/2, because if we were to take this half and put it together, it would be the entire cup, so that would be the whole that we're looking at. So once again, today we're going to be looking at fractions that are shaded and fractions that are not shaded, and we're going to go ahead and get started on the problem set and work through that together. So if you want to go ahead and get that out and get that ready. Okay, so for this one, it says whisper the fraction of the shape that is shaded. So since we're doing this ourselves and I really can't tell what you're whispering, I am going to have you do something different on this paper that isn't in the directions. And out beside each one of these, I want you to write the fraction that shows what is shaded. So since this triangle has two parts and there's one part that is shaded, I'm going to write 1/8 beside it. So this is what you're also going to do on your paper. And you're going to do that for all of these whenever we're looking at them. The rest of the direction says, then match the shape to the amount that is not shaded. So you've got all of these over here, and we've got 2/3, 6/7, 4/5, and so on. But this is going to be the amount that is not shaded, so you're not going to see 1/8 for this triangle over here for the part that is shaded. But since over here on this triangle there is still one part that is not shaded, you will find that fraction. So you've got to make sure that you're looking for the fractions on this side that shows what is not shaded. So I'm going to go ahead and work through this and make sure you have this finished before you're checking it. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to write all of the fractions down to show what is shaded before I show how they are matched. So for number 2 right here, there is one part that is shaded, and there are 4 parts total. So the part that is shaded is 1/4. On this triangle, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 parts, and there is one part that is shaded. So this fraction that shows what is shaded is 1/9. On this shape right here, there are 6 parts and one part is shaded, so the fraction that shows what is shaded is 1/6. On this shape, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different parts. Let me make sure. Yes, 5 different parts. And once again, there's one part shaded, so this fraction is going to be 1/5. On this shape right here, there are 3 equal parts and one part is shaded, so the fraction that is shaded is 1/3. On this rectangle, there are 7 equal parts and there's one part that is shaded, so that is 1/7. On this shape, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 9 equal parts and there is one part that is shaded, so that is 1/9. So now you should have had your lines drawn to match the parts that are not shaded. So we're going to go ahead and look at that. This white part that is not shaded is 1. And look, up here, what in the world was I thinking? It's not 1/8. I don't know what I was thinking. It's 1/2. Okay, so that's 1/2. So we've got to look at the parts that's not shaded, and there's one part that's not shaded, so we should have drawn a line over here to 1/2. This part right here, there are 4 equal parts, and there are 3 parts that are not shaded, so the line comes all the way down here to 3/4. And then number 3, there were 9 parts, and there are 8 parts that are not shaded, so we draw a line right here to 8/9. Up here we had one part that was shaded out of 6, so that's going to leave us with 5/6 that are not shaded, so you draw a line right here to 5/6. There were 5 parts here, and 4 of them are not shaded, so it goes right up here to 4/5. And number 6, there were 3 parts, and 1 part was shaded. 2 of them were not shaded, so that goes up here to the top to 2/3. There were 7 parts, and 6 of these parts were not shaded, so we would draw a line up here to 6/7. And then down here at the bottom, there were 9 parts, or no, not 9 parts, 8 parts. Let me change this really fast to show 1/8. I counted incorrectly right there. So there are 7 parts that are not shaded, so that is 7/8. So I made a few mistakes on that page, so just make sure you didn't make the same mistakes that I make. Now we're going to go to the next page. Number 9 says, how many eighths are in one whole? So if I were to draw a circle, and I had to divide that circle into eighths, how many different parts would be in that circle to make the whole? And that would be 8 different parts, because if it's cut into eighths, we know there's 8 parts. The same way if it was cut into fourths, we know that there would be 4 equal parts. So if I have ninths, and I'm cutting the circle into 9 equal parts, how many ninths would there be in one whole? So there would be 9 equal parts in one whole. Same thing with twelfths. If I was cutting a circle into 12 different parts and I had twelfths in that circle, how many twelfths would be in that one whole? And there would be 12 equal parts. Okay, number 10 says each strip represents one whole. And when we're looking at this, this is kind of like a tape diagram, but we're looking at it using fractions now instead of labeling it like we did when we were working with addition and subtraction and multiplication and division. So you see that there's going to be a separate part labeled for what's shaded, and then there's going to be another part that's labeled for what is not shaded. So we're going to write the fraction to label what's shaded and the fraction to label what's not shaded. So I first have to look at how many parts there are in all on this tape diagram, and there's 5 equal parts, and there's 1 part that is shaded, so the fraction that shows what is shaded is 1/5. So that leaves me with 4 parts that are not shaded, so the fraction that shows what's not shaded is 4/5. Okay, moving on to this next tape diagram, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 parts, and there's 1 part that is shaded, so that tells me 1/7 is shaded. And since I have these right here that are not shaded, I know that that's 6 left over, so 6/7 of this tape diagram is not shaded. Okay, on this last one, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 equal parts, and 1 part is shaded, so that's 1/11 that is shaded, and the rest of the parts are not shaded, so that's 10/11 that are not shaded. Number 11 says, Avanti read 1/6 of her book. What fraction of the book has she not read yet? So on your paper, you're going to have to draw some type of model to show sixth, because we're working with sixth, and we know that she read 1/6, but we're trying to figure out what fraction of the book has she not read, so we're really going to be looking at the part that's not shaded. So you could have drawn a circle or you could have drawn a rectangle, but whatever you did draw, I did want you to label each unit as 1/6, so if you didn't do that, make sure you're doing that on your paper. And this one part that is shaded shows what she has read of her book, so the other parts that are not shaded is going to tell me what she has left to read. So now all we have to do is answer that in a sentence saying what has she not read yet. So when I'm counting these, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different parts. So that tells me she has not read 5/6 of her book yet. Okay, you're going to be working on the exit slip. Make sure you bring that to me whenever you're ready to check it.